And you see a great crowd forming here on Fremont Street. We are just about set to get Armfight 44, the Vendetta in Vegas underway. Middleweight bout, David Bartosiewicz against Eduardo Tietê. This is our first match, and I know you think, James, that Bartosiewicz can give Tietê a real run for his money here.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's very confident, and you know he should be. I mean, with his experience in the sport, you know, all this international competition he's been to, he hasn't pulled Tietê yet. I think Tietê is among the best in his style of arm wrestling, but I think that he's definitely got a very good chance if he decides to go to a different technique.
All right, let's hear from the Polish puller what he thinks about this event tonight.
Tam zdobyłem 3 medale, zdobyłem 2 medale w kategorii junior.
My way in arm wrestling started in 2004. I have participated in Polish nationals and I won 3 medals there, 2 silver medals in juniors and 1 bronze in seniors. And then I started participating in different events, different tournaments. I was winning medals. It inspired me. That is how I came to arm wrestling. Maybe you cannot tell by my face now, but you had to see me when I came to know that I'm invited for Vendetta in Vegas, and you can ask my girlfriend how I changed during this month. I was a little bit nervous, but the thing that makes me happy is that I'm going to Vegas, I will participate in a real professional event. As I watched on videos with Eduardo, he is always using the hook technique. I never saw him using another technique, so I'm going to use his weak points, weak places. I believe that I will win, and I will be able to use his weak points.
Eduardo, I respect you so much. I hope tomorrow we'll show a good and fair fight. Let the strongest win.
And now we want to introduce our MC for the evening. Let's get up on the stage to Barry Egan.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the biggest arm wrestling event in history. Vendetta in Vegas, Armfight 44. All of tonight's action is brought to you by the WAC, the World Arm Wrestling Championships, in association with the Fremont Street Experience, Budget Rent-A-Car Las Vegas, the Plaza Hotel Casino, and the CBS Sports Network. Leonard Harkless will be the world head referee in charge of the action, along with Mr. Bill Collins, the head referee for the United States. Also working with Reza Dimaganian as our video referees. Here we go. Fight number 1, Vegas Vendetta, Armfight 44. Walking to the table first. He is 28 years old, 5'8" tall. He weighed in at 181.4 pounds. He is a 14-time Poland national champion and took 2nd place in the World Championships and is a 3-time World Vice Champion. Please welcome from Poland, David Bartosiewicz. And now his opponent, he is 36 years of age, 5'5" tall. He also weighed in at 181.4 pounds. He is a 2-time national champion, took 2nd place at the World Championships. He is a former world champion, a 15-time Brazilian national champion. Ladies and gentlemen, from Brazil, here is Eduardo Tietê.
While we can burn to death, a murk is set. yet and beat your body down till there ain't no purpose left. Like what? You ain't heard this urban threat? Kamikaze, let me get my turban set. See what I blow, I know I heard this next. We taking over, so we'll make you work for sweat. Get your head rocking bombs, we gon' work your neck. Keep you on your toes till we say it hurts and step on drop bombs. If you ain't heard me yet, you drop down so hard you gon' hurt to death. I got soldiers, all with purple checks and smoke a blunt. Ready for this smoking chest, smoking flesh. We gon' have a smoking fest, smoke the rest. I'm home like I'm smoking meth. When all this shit says so revolution is so big, something that you never heard before.
As we get underway, walking to the stage, the head referee in charge of the United States, Mr. Bill Collins.
And we are just about set to get things underway. I wanted to ask you about Bartosiewicz on this big stage. But before, as he starts to get warmed up, because I think Tieté's been there and he's done that. Let's get the rules of what we're going to be dealing with tonight. Let's get people comfortable with what's going to happen here from the referee's perspective and the competitor's perspective.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure there's no wrist manipulation. So he's not.
We're going to go to the strap.
So this is a big part of what this evening could be all about, getting to the strap. And just talk about the strategy for a fighter who feels it's to his advantage to get to the strap.
Absolutely. Well, what I think you saw there is Bartosiewicz was avoiding the hook of Eduardo Tietê. He came outside. He did what's called a post maneuver, where you come out against the pinky and the ring finger of the opponent, and he came outside into what's known as a top roll and slip grips to go into the strap so that he can get a leverage advantage and try to keep Tietê outside. The one thing I will note, though, about pulling in the strap is it makes your wrists closer together. You can't get as much distance between the hands, and when that happens, Tieté is actually liable to have an easier time getting into his hook.
You know, the irony was on Armfight 43, the entire night, we never got to the strap. But this particular match, we actually thought this was going to be the rule, not the exception.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think when you look at a guy like Bartosiewicz, who is an absolute, phenom in this sport. Trains 4 times a week. He's got, he said that this is his life, this sport. That's literally what he said. That's how he described it. He says he trains more for this sport than he devotes to anything else in his life. And then, you got a guy like Tietê. Tietê, very experienced, can pull in the straps. But yeah, we kind of expected this to be a hook match. And Bartosiewicz, though he was training to pull in a hook for this matchup, decided to come outside and slip grips.
Bill Collins from Los Manos, California, is our referee this evening. And talk about the referee's role here to get it to the point where both fighters are ready to roll.
Well, these guys are international competitors. They're not going to let the other one get over on them. They want everything straight. They want their knuckles in view. They want to make sure that it's perfectly in the center of the table. Up top. Wow. Oh, we got an elbow foul on Eduardo Tietê. Just to kind of go back over that, Bill Collins, not only is he the head referee in the United States, he also won the Golden Bear. He was the last American to win the Golden Bear at that weight. So, and that's a big event. That was a big event in Russia. So
we got the elbow foul there.
Yep.
Did you spot anything from what you just saw?
I saw Bartosiewicz get very good position up in that high hook. Well, he decided to come back out so they would go into the straps.
On the slip, we'll go
Let's
to the
talk about
straps.
being on literally the big stage. And we're on the big stage here on Fremont Street with a big crowd. Tietê has an advantage in that area.
Yeah, and I think what happens is the more experienced you get, the less you notice the crowd. You do kind of go into what most athletes would refer to as the zone. I mean, you're up there and all you do is focus on what you're doing, the process. You only focus on the process. You don't think about the expectations of the crowd. And, you know, you just think about what the referee is doing and what he's saying.
Give us the process right now, what we're seeing with the strap.
Well, right now what I'm seeing is Bartosiewicz getting a way better setup in the straps. He's setting up very well. I see Tietê trying to push his hand forward. He's having a little trouble. As you can see right there, he's strained. If he set up with his hand a little farther forward, he would have got more leverage. So Bartosiewicz has got a very good chance of getting positioned today against Tietê in this match.
Ready, go!
Oh, but Tietê gets him inside. And this is Tietê's ball game. But you can see that Bartosiewicz is a game opponent in that hook. What do you think, Brian?
Oh, this is a grueling contest.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this right now. I have not seen Tietê lose when he gets his opponent dragged back to his side of the table. But Bartosiewicz is opening him up, and that's the way that you're supposed to pull a guy like a Tietê. You don't want to stay deep in a hook.
Is it just a perception thing? Bartosiewicz seems much more comfortable at the moment.
Well, he's comfortable in that deep defensive hook. I'll tell you right now, Bartosiewicz, he pulls a lot of heavier opponents. Oh, what do we got? A second elbow foul. Oh, Bartosiewicz takes the win. We could very well see an upset tonight.
In match number 1, Tietê. So number 1 will go to Bartosiewicz.
Very early on, Bartosiewicz, with that elbow foul, grabs the lead. But I think very telling, if we're saying, as you mentioned in the open, you think he can contend here.
Yeah.
He did much more than contend. Now, what we've got to watch for, how grueling that was. Both guys trying to get the blood flowing in their right arm right now. Now we start talking about stamina and endurance with 5 more bouts to go.
Yeah, right now it comes down to conditioning. And these 6-round formats don't always find the best arm wrestler, but they always find the best conditioned arm wrestler because they only have a couple of minutes in between matches.
Vazgen Segoyan there helping Tietê try to get that right arm going again. Let's take another look at this, and you can see the strain on Tietê here.
Absolutely, and look at how opened up Bartosiewicz is. That shows tremendous bicep strength to be able to hold somebody right there. And you see he's trying to work his shoulder behind his hand, and that's when the elbow foul happened.
Yeah, Bartosiewicz, he just seemed like he was just in a rocking chair. He was pretty comfortable there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say that if anyone looked like they were in command of that match, it was Bartosiewicz, so not Tietê.
Tietê's the guy comes in here with the hype, with the notoriety.
Sure.
Based on that first poll, what's Tietê thinking right now?
Well, I don't know. You know, I got to say it. Tietê is coming off a win that a lot of people didn't think was possible. There's an American arm wrestler named Kevin Bongard. He's very tall. He's got long levers, meaning very long forearms. He's very tough to pull out of a hooked position. He's so tall that he can go to the other side of the table and still stay strong, so you can't really open him up and beat him. Well, Tietê solved the puzzle that American middleweights have been trying to solve for years. He dragged him to his side of the table and went right through him and did it comfortably. I mean, he looked amazing in that match. So he's got to be having some doubt here.
Now that first poll ended up in the strap.
Yep.
Do you think we get there again? What will we be looking for right now?
If I'm Bartosiewicz, I'm thinking I would possibly go to the strap. The only difference is he would have the buckle on his hand this time if he went to the strap because of the position the referee's standing in. He does slip. They go to the strap. What I think we're going to see, though, is Bartosiewicz is going to have to change his setup if he's going to want to get into the exact same position that he did in the last match against Tietê. In that first matchup, he had such a perfect setup. And it looks like he's setting up correctly again. He's pushing his palm forward, if you notice that, so he can get his hand past the thumb of his competitor.
So the first poll ended up being a foul.
Yep.
Either guy make any huge adjustments at the moment or let this play out again?
Well, you know, if I'm Tietê and I come off that loss, the only strategic thing that I'm changing, I think, is instead of trying to hit so much sideways when I'm inside, is to drag back. Because he's so strong when he's in his groove. And what I mean by that is getting a biomechanic advantage by opening up your competitor. Really? He had Bartosiewicz opened up, and he kind of stood up and let Bartosiewicz get it back.
How important is the referee right now?
Go! Oh, very important. There we go. We're off. In a hook, and what do we have? It looks like Bill Collins is calling a foul. Oh, one elbow foul on Eduardo Tietê.
How much does that weigh on him now?
Psychologically, a lot.
One more foul,
because,
Bartosiewicz.
you know, when I talk about arm wrestling to people, I try to explain it almost like a swing in baseball. When your swing is off and you're in a slump, you're like, oh boy, I got to change something, and you don't know what it is. And with his experience, he's not used to elbow fouling this much. Inside, that was a very quick hit by Bartosiewicz inside. Tietê's got the advantage, and he should finish the match from there. And he does. Look at that, Eduardo Tietê going to his strength, getting him dragged back.
And fired up about it as well.
Oh yeah, the Brazilian gets fired up a lot. That's one thing you need to know about Eduardo Tietê.
How much of this is psychological? I mean, it's brute strength. We get that. But how much is eyeballing your opponent? How much of it is being that fired up? How much does that send a message?
You know, I think to some people it is a lot, because some people will try to get into the head of their opponent.
Is it more self-motivation?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think the more fired you get, the more adrenaline you got going, and you can definitely feel really good for your next coming matches. The only problem is if you get too fired up and your adrenaline fires all the way up, and then you have to come down, there can be a letdown in the matches to come up.
Okay, we've had 2 rounds so far, and both were excruciating. I mean, not a quick pin. And now we got to start talking about the stamina. And again, Vazgen Segoyan, who we'll be seeing in future cards here on the CBS Sports Network, is in the corner with Tietê. Just talk about trying to get that blood flowing in that arm, what he's trying to do for him here.
You know, the only problem is he's got the blood flowing in the wrong way. I mean, he's spraying that on to try to cool down the arm a little bit, try to get a little of the blood out, but it always seemed to work a little bit better if your hand was above your head and you were massaging the blood down towards your elbow. Because conditioning, again, is going to be it's going to be the deciding factor in this match, most likely.
The one thing that might shock people, and through these first 2 rounds, I would say they've already got a pretty long recovery process to come. But as this match will progress, how about these 2 guys, the recovery period for them after this night is over?
Well, after the night is over, these guys are going to be aching for weeks. I mean, of course, Bartosiewicz having youth on his side, you know, and being able to train as often as he will recover a little quicker than Eduardo Tietê.
So when bout goes to Bartosiewicz via the elbow foul, and then the pin the last time out by Tietê. So let's go to the 3rd round. In there, you get a good look at Tietê staring down his opponent.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, you can tell Bartosiewicz was going to come outside from his setup, and that time the difference was Tietê actually took his hand over. Bartosiewicz lost his wrist, which is indicative that he might be starting to fatigue a little bit. And I'll tell you, I mean, it would surprise me if Bartosiewicz fatigued. You know, you're talking about a guy that took 2nd place at the 2013 World Championship. And in that event, I mean, those worlds, those WAF worlds, you have so many guys in your weight class, it's unbelievable. He took 2nd, and you're talking about a guy who beat Vadim Apkarov, who was expected to win that class, or at least, you know, place top 2.
All right, we're going back to the strap here. Now, while Bill Collins gets us set up here, the fact that you're saying you could notice Bartosiewicz maybe getting a little bit fatigued.
Yeah.
How does that change his strategy?
Well, my strategy here, and you can see it's actually not his. He's actually dipping inside a little bit with his wrist. He's kind of carving in, which is indicative that he's probably going to end up going into a hook. If his wrist is tired, he might have a hard time, but if he gets a good position, well, it looks like Tieté's got position again, and Tieté's going to drag him over, and get that win. And he's amped up again, because I think Eduardo Tietê knows what the score is now.
He's feeling it takes a 2-1 lead, but even I think he's thinking big picture. He feels like he's in complete control right now.
Yeah, big picture. Tietê has pinned him twice in a hook, and is as strong as he is. I think Bartosiewicz is a little bit tired.
Let's take another look.
Yeah, I mean, you can see he's very opened up there. Tieté's in his groove, well onto his side of the table. Kind of got away with a peg foul there. Looks like he let go of the peg for a second, but he ends up getting that pin. Eduardo Tietê, wow, he's an animal.
So back-to-back pins by Tietê. Is that elbow foul from the 1st round a distant memory, or still in his head?
Well, I would say that yeah, at this point he's in control.
We're going to take a quick time out. Halfway home in our first bout from downtown Las Vegas, Vendetta in Vegas, Armfight 44.
Bartosiewicz out of Poland, a 3-time world vice champion, placed second in the world championships, and is a 14-time Poland national champion.
This middleweight bout getting the evening underway in Las Vegas with Eduardo Tietê, a 2-1 lead through 3 rounds over David Bartosiewicz, and back-to-back emphatic pins by the Brazilian.
Yeah, and if I'm Bartosiewicz, I'm going to try to post here. I know his hand is tired. Well, he ends up coming outside and slipping. But I can tell you this, Johnny Barrera from Argentina managed to post through Eduardo Tietê's bottom fingers in one matchup. And it was a few years ago, but it did show that there is potentially a weakness on the Brazilian.
You know, Bartosiewicz talked about some of the big matches in his career over the Nemiroff World Cup in 2008 against Vitaly Kalmykov. Big bouts like that, can you, in the teeth of the battle here, can you call back on those big moments where you had success?
Oh, sure. I mean, in some ways they got to be a distant memory, but you have to. It has to give you confidence. You do get a lot of confidence from your wins, and he is a professional. He does have a very good chance of coming back and doing something here. But again, it looks like he's kind of favoring that hook. He's setting up. You can see with his foot on the peg and with his shoulder behind his hand. It looks like he's trying to carve inside, and it's almost like he's kind of resigned to the fact that he's going to end up in Tieté's hook anyway. And
from Tieté's perspective?
It's exactly where he wants to be. I mean, I'd be very confident if I was Eduardo Tietê right now. Back inside, what do we got? We got an elbow foul. It looks like Bartosiewicz did go to post him, but ended up posting his elbow off the pad. So Tietê does have to be prepared for that post.
Now, the fact that he's got the one elbow foul here, back-to-back elbow fouls, and this round would go to Bartosiewicz, does Tietê become tentative in any fashion?
Yeah, do you mean play catch? I mean, yeah, sometimes you can do that. Doesn't look like it, though. He goes right inside, drags over into his move, and Eduardo Tietê, another win. He's going up 3-1.
He goes up 3-1.
And a big flex. I don't know if I'd be flexing right now with all that blood that's probably going through his arm.
Champion.
He's got a lot of adrenaline going through him right now, that's for sure. He's got to be very excited about what he's been doing here today.
You go back to that first round, and it was ultimately decided by an elbow foul. Well, but they were going at it for a good 30 seconds.
Yeah.
How much did that get Tieté's attention?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think Tietê came into this very confident. But Bartosiewicz showed that inside, he's game for anybody in the world. I think what happened was he got really opened up. And you can see right here, here's Tietê sideways, in control in a hook, drags to his side of the table, keeps that elbow barely on, gets the pin. So, and from above, you can see Bartosiewicz is very opened up at this point. Tieté's knuckles face towards the referee, which is a superior hooking position.
Tietê trained for a super fight back in May and then basically said he's just continued to train from that point forward for Armfight 44. It sure seems like it's working for him. Can that be a detriment, or do you think it's an advantage?
Well, in this type of format, it's definitely an advantage. You know, you have to be able to train, to condition for 1 to 2 minute breaks, because it's not normal for an arm wrestler. Usually, we're going to tournaments and we're pulling a match and then we get to sit. And then, we have to come back up and then pull, but there's some downtime in between. So you have to be very conditioned for this specific type of format.
It's Armfight 44, Vendetta in Vegas on Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas on stage number 1, right across the street from the Golden Nugget. 3-1. It is Tietê with the lead over Bartosiewicz, and he has been flat out on a roll since that first round.
Yeah, he has. And if I'm Bartosiewicz right now, I'm going to try to pull back against that pinky and ring finger of Tietê and just try to see if I can get into a post. Back up top, you can see Bartosiewicz's wrist is a little bit tired. His rotator is a little bit tired, but, I mean, he can still come back and tie this up. He's got to get these last couple of wins.
Over the course of your career, when you get into this now, into round 5, and frankly,
Head referee Bill Collins
we've had
get it
elbow
back to the
fouls that
table.
actually make it
We'll
more
go to
than
the
just
strap
5
again.
pulls.
Oh, yeah.
When fatigue sets in, how does it impact your approach?
Oh, it impacts it so much because
we're going 6.
when you go up to that table, it's the worst feeling in the world when you go up to that table and you can't even close your hand. That your forearm is so
Vendetta in
pumped up,
Vegas, Armfight
and you know, you
44.
do anything to buy time. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've actually hidden the bathroom.
Looking to crown a champion.
Because I'm like, I don't want to go up to the table right now. Give me another 30 seconds, you know.
How about Tietê just build every round, even if it becomes insurmountable to come back and win? You know, every rep, every round matters for future bouts.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I don't think you'll see any letdown from Eduardo Tietê here. I think Tietê is going to try to force that hook again. If I'm Bartosiewicz, especially with that superior strap position that he has right there, you know, why not try to come back towards your own shoulder, use Tietê's momentum.